Hello and welcome to On the Air with Accounting Today. I'm your host, Ronica Arrowsmith. The move from accountant to a true advisor is one that is much touted in the industry. But how do we make that move? Here to talk about how she did it is Amy Vetter. Amy is a CPA and she started her career traditionally at one of the big four firms. She then moved on to working with large tech companies, and today she's working independently as a speaker and an advisor, as well as an advisor to accountants. Thanks for joining us, Amy.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about your story. So how did it all start in accounting for you?
It really started before I even knew what a CPA was. I was just saying I was going to be a CPA at 12 years old. And I know that sounds very strange, but my grandfather was a CPA, and my mom did not go the CPA route. And so she always felt like it was a mistake that she didn't follow her father. So from the time I was very young, it was like, well, you're going to go into accounting. And so I didn't really
I feel like that's the case for a lot of accountants. Yeah.
I didn't really know the difference. And she was an entrepreneur running a maid service in 3 different cities. And so I started working in her office, getting dropped off from the bus after school. And so I was really into business. I thought it was awesome and loved the energy and watching my mom grow this business. And so I didn't know any difference except to go into accounting to be in business.
Awesome. And what was so awesome and exciting about business to you?
I loved the creativity of it, where, you know, I saw from the very beginning. So like I said, my mom was an art teacher. And so she was that till I was about in 2nd grade. And then she decided that she wanted to own her own business. And she opened up a franchise thinking that's a whole nother story we're not going to get into. But on another day, if you want a very interesting story, it was published in Ink in 1988. So, but in any case, she opened a franchise, and they were supposed to she thought, if I'm a franchise, they'll teach me how to be a business owner. And the night before she's supposed to open her business, she still never had any help. Nothing. So she had maids starting the next day. So her and her manager that she just hired were like timing themselves, like cleaning a bathtub, like how long does it take and how long does it take to clean a kitchen. And then when people would call those first couple weeks and they would say, you know, they want an appointment, they're like, well, we're fully booked for the next 2 weeks. So we'll put you like to show demand. Like I started seeing how you kind of grow demand in a different way. And I think also, you know, being at the time, having a mom that was a business owner was very different. And so I just was soaking it in of just all the different nuances of it and how you're able to get into different service lines and all that other stuff.
I love that you mentioned creativity because I'm always pushing this idea. So you and I meet in the tech world, right? That's how you and I know each other, because you were at Xero for a long time and I'm reporting on technology. And I always talk, when people talk about automation and they say, okay, automating jobs away, I always talk about accounting is not the kind of job people think it is. It involves a lot of creativity, and that cannot, at least now, be replaced by technology. So no. I love that that's drew you to the profession.
Yeah.
So, okay, you got your accounting degree and you went on to work for firms. So how long did you spend in public accounting, and what was that experience like?
So I started out I actually had a co-op job in college, which any accounting students that are listening, I highly, highly recommend, because I went into tax and because everybody told me to. And when I took that job, I realized I'm not a tax accountant. I did well, I just didn't enjoy it as much. But there are people that enjoy it, I'm not knocking it. So I'm just saying it wasn't for me. But I found that out in college versus like getting your first job and being, exactly. You know, so intern, do whatever you can while you're in school so that you learn. And then I ended up getting a job with KPMG in audit, which for me was a little better because I could get out of the office. Like I'm definitely not a stagnant in the office person. So I got to learn about new businesses and so forth. I think what surprised me about audit that they don't teach you in school is, number one, the physical inventory part.
Yeah.
Like where you're going to be put.
Yeah. You've talked about like being put in a dark corner. Nobody wants you.
But also some of the physical inventories, you could be like put in freezers and counting chickens. So, they don't talk about that. They also don't talk about the fact that you're working off of checklists, which after a while I was like, you know, not that your knowledge doesn't come into that, but I felt very stagnant as a person. And this is where kind of you figure out where's your path in accounting. And, you know, and I think many people, and especially students of today, get in their first job and they go, oh, this isn't what I thought. And then they give up on accounting. And that's one thing I never did. Like, there's always a path. And it comes back to creativity. But you have to get back to who you are as a person, figure out your purpose, and then figure out, like, there's such an open world of different services. You just don't learn all about them when you're in college.
Do you think that's changing in the accounting education area, or?
I don't think it's changing enough.
Okay.
It's not changing rapidly enough because of the way curriculums are developed, where, you know, it takes a long time to change a curriculum and the way it's taught as well. There's an interest, and there's definitely, I was involved this year in the JISC conference. It's the Journal of, I don't know, something, Information Security. You can probably
look it up. And
with the AICPA, and it was professors presenting their research in the technology field. And it used practitioners like myself there, giving them feedback. And that was a great way to bridge that. And I'm going to go to their conference in August as well, to really give them feedback of what you're seeing from accounting students coming out, what they're teaching, where's the gap as well. Yeah. So it was really interesting.
Okay, so from accountant to technology executive, how did that happen? Were you interested, or did it just come to you?
So I stayed on my path of being in audit for a while, and like I said, whether, you know, your first jobs in anything aren't going to be like awesome, so you have to stick things out and learn, else you don't see where the other opportunities are. And mine really happened by mistake, because I was in public accounting, and then I went into internal audit at Ryder in Miami, and loved that. So that was another thing. You listen to your peers, and your peers tell you what you're going to like and you're not going to like. And so one of the things people said in school was, oh, don't go into internal audit. I loved internal audit.
Yeah. Why did you like it?
You were part of the business, and you saw things you didn't see in external audit. So Ryder at the time, I mean, this was a long time ago, but it was the logistics side of the business. So as nerdy as it sounds, I loved being in warehouses and seeing how all the processes worked and finding the efficiencies. And again, it's kind of where you get that, oh, you mean I'm going to go in warehouses? Fun. And then you go in, you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. You're in a Toyota plant as a car's being built. And so then you see in Whirlpool how you can take best practices from that plant and bring it into another. And so I started really getting into business process. I thought that was really exciting. But you're using those audit skills. That's why you don't give up, because you got to use those skills later on. And then I had my first child, and I got very sick. My son was very sick. He was a preemie. And so there was really no way to go back to that role as much as I wanted to. And I started my own business. So it was really the catalyst to starting my own business. When I started, I didn't want to do audit because I was afraid by myself about having too much liability. So I said, I'm just going to do a bookkeeping service. And then I saw, and at the time, QuickBooks was not as well known as it is today. And I looked in the paper to see how other accountants, so That dates me right there.
Actual physical,
to see how other accountants were advertising themselves. But I would say you should do that online or wherever. But I saw the QuickBooks certification badge. And I was like, oh, well, that looks like credible. I should get that. So I went on, got my QuickBooks certification. And that's where my life started changing because I had been dealing with all these big, SAP applications, JD Edwards, in these big companies. And then when I went to small business, they started calling me for questions, and I thought I was going to sell them bookkeeping. And they're like, no, I want to do my books. I just want your help. Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. So I go out there, and I was like, oh my God, the software, does what these big software, I couldn't believe, what it could do even then. This is 90s. So I started into that, and I was I just got immersed in the software of how it worked and how you could customize reporting without hiring someone to customize reporting for you, and how you could really get creative with a report and create construction reports out of reports that were just standard. And so as my business grew, I ended up taking on more and more technology, learning about it. At the time with desktop software, add-ons were becoming more popular for industries, but if you tried to tag on more than one add-on to desktop software, the thing blew. Which is really the advantage of the cloud we have today and the freedom of information that can flow. And so I really found my way in that. And then I was teaching on it, I was speaking on it. I was working with Doug Sleater very early on in his business, helping him write his content, speaking for him, and then Intuit. And I was also a professor at the time too. So I've always been using my mouth.
Yeah.
I like to teach because, again, it's not about being up there. I love seeing that light bulb go off. And so when Intuit came to me early on and asked that I help with their road shows, going out talking about the new features of QuickBooks each year. And then I got involved writing their advanced certification, and then I started working there. And then that kind of transitioned me. I sold my business and went into the tech world.
Right. And so that's interesting because I speak to a lot of people for stories, and for people like you who've been in the industry for a long time, I do often hear, oh, I got in early with Intuit, I got in early with QuickBooks, I got in early with whatever the technology is. Do you think that can still happen in today's totally tech-driven world? Is there still that opportunity for people to sort of expand their career into technology the way that you did at that time?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to the theme.
Yeah.
Creativity. There's never been a better time to be creative and stand out. So in the past, every accounting practice looked exactly the same. With what the advantages we have with technology today, you create your own IP, your own processes, your own brand. You need to think about what your brand looks like, what it stands for, who you're targeting. So it used to be you could only go to that geographic boundary around you of 10 to 20 miles. Now the world's opened up. Mm-hmm. So when you're networking, taking full advantage of that, creating a experience in your practice that's different than anyone else. So it's good to learn from other people, but then you got to find your own, what makes you excited, because that comes out in your business, and there's no competition for that. It's you're so differentiated and unique that you stand out to the people around you.
And so now you're on the speaking circuit and you're on advisory boards. What is this the message you bring to the people who you're talking to? And
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a speaker my whole career. I've just done it in different ways, kind of. Yeah. But this year was, I want to go out and broaden the message about, how you can create the life that you want to create. You can design that life. And so, you have that book, Integrative Advisory Services. I wrote that this year. So for people that are trying to figure out how to do this, it's literally a how-to guide. I've opened up everything, my own checklists, best practices, and so forth of how you put this together. And my purpose when I'm speaking is to talk about how you put this together. But more than that, as you know, I've termed this word Cherished Advisor, or term.
Yes, and before you go on, I will.
Yeah.
So the book is Integrative Advisory Services, subhead, Expanding Your Accounting Services Beyond the Cloud. And Amy did put it out in the past year. And she has a concept that she's going to talk about the Cherished Advisor, sort of partner to that older idea of the trusted advisor. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think of all the people I've advised over the years and worked with, the biggest thing that holds them back is not the technology. It's actually fear of the conversation that's going to happen. Because when our time gets freed up, we don't have that excuse anymore of, I'm too busy to talk to you. And this is what the technology gives us, is an opportunity to have human connection. It does not take away from that, but we have to retool. And so going back to my story, my purpose was always to help small business owners like my mother. So I went into accounting for that reason. Even though I was told to do that, I watched the struggle of my own family in small business. And so then when I opened my own practice, I was like, oh, I'm actually helping these small businesses improve. And it was so exciting because you come in and it's this mess and you have to figure out how to put it back together. And then when I started speaking, I was realizing when I talk to accountants, and every accountant has 100 or more clients, I'm getting help to more small businesses. Right? Like that's my purpose, is to help the small business.
Yeah.
And so we get away from that as accountants many times, is why we're doing what we're doing. It's not just because we were told to go into accounting. We have to remember the person that hires us is in need. And they're suffering. They don't know what to do next. They need an expert to help them. And when we don't return their phone call, and when we don't actually take some time and review what's happening in their business besides the P&L, and the balance sheet, get into their business, understand their business issues, we're not truly being an advisor. So we've been called this advisor, but I don't know that we've taken the leap of what the advisor is. And so that is my purpose out with accounting practices and financial services industry as well, of how do you take that leap to really help that client, like have the conversation. What are the steps? What are the techniques? What are the tools? And you need to take some time to learn that so that you create that experience for a client that they can't imagine that you're not a part of their business.
Absolutely. As I mentioned to you earlier, I just spoke at the Accounting Show New York on automation, and part of my message was exactly what you just said. Technology is not going to take away your job. It's going to take away tasks that are taking up your time, and you can use that time to become a better partner to your client. But also, automation can help you be a better mother, a better father.
Absolutely.
It's going to give you your time back, and
yes.
I'm totally on that message. I love it.
Without losing money in your practice.
Exactly,
yes.
That's the key. I mean, I told a story of an accountant
yes.
who when his first year of his solo practice, he almost, his health was in the trash. And then he got some automation technology that helped him. His health was better the next year during tax season, and he got 150 more clients as well. So he made more money as well
yes.
with more time that was freed up.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So where do you go from here, Amy? What does your next 5 years, 10 years look like?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I want to get the message out wider. My goal is really in the keynote speaking arena and being an advisor for people struggling to get this, going. I also advise in the tech industry as well. So tech companies that are in the startup phases trying to serve accountants and other customer groups like this, they don't always understand what our needs are as well. So that's really what I see right now, as well as I'm launching a learning center. Mm-hmm. And it's about this, but it's more about helping you find that purpose and balance in your life. That's my yogi side.
Yes.
But these tools help you to be more mindful at work. And there's a way to put technology in your business where you can be more mindful, about how you have conversations, creating a better experience with your clients. And that's really what I see right now.
Thank you, Amy. That's a great message to take away from this. And folks, there you have it. What are CPAs doing in the world? Here's one CPA doing a lot of things. And we hope to see you next time on the Air with Accounting Today. Thank you.
Look for new episodes of On the Air with Accounting Today every Monday at accountingtoday.com or subscribe to us on Google Play or iTunes. And if there's a topic you'd like us to explore, let us know by emailing actoday@sourcemedia.com.